and welcome to The Good Life with me, Eileen. We are here on Relationship Tuesday, and we're here to open your mind. We are living the good life right here on WBOK 1230 AM. We are opening minds to living differently in the world with love, compassion, tolerance, and understanding for ourselves and hopefully everyone else. We do that right here weekdays at 11 a.m. Make sure you tune in to Motivation Monday, Relationship Tuesday, Wellness Wednesday, Gumbo Talk Thursday, and of course Freedom Friday. If you know someone with a compelling story, someone that life has fit the good life scenario, love, tolerance, compassion, understandings, they have overcome some pain, perseverance. Well, we all have that in our lives. But if you know someone who would like to share their story, please have them email me, Eileen, Eileen, at tglradioshow.com. Eileen at tglradioshow.com. There's so many times just in our day-to-day lives that there are people who have stories that need to be heard. So we would like to open that up to our listening audience. And it doesn't just have to be here in New Orleans. It can be anywhere in the world. Actually, I have some people with a couple books who have reached out to me. So we're really excited about that. We will be having conversations with them soon. So please make sure you email me, Eileen, Eileen, at tglradioshow.com. Now, of course, we are here on Relationship Tuesday. It's my favorite day of the week, but I only say that with everybody who's in here. Why? Because I have Dr. Tammy Wilborn in the studio with me, and I have none other than our relationship resident therapist, Henry Jolly in the studio. But of course, ladies first. Henry, you know how we rock. So Dr. Wilborn, can you tell everybody how they can reach you if they need your services?
Well, good morning. I'm back. I'm glad to be back.
I know, we missed you.
I missed you guys. So Wilborn Clinical Services, you can find us first on the web, www.wilbornclinicalservices.com. Also, you can give me a call, 504-509-3995. Or email, info@wilbornclinicalservices.com. I'm everywhere.
Everywhere you want to be. And look, we both platinum. So I'm coming behind you. I'm coming behind you now. We have Henry Jolly, who is our resident relationship counselor. Henry, how can they reach you?
Good morning.
Video right for y'all.
Follow me on Instagram at henryjolly_counselor. And my phone number is 504-259-8671. Once again, 504-259-8671.
Now, this week, y'all know we do themes for every week with regard to the good life, and this week has been about changing the narrative. I don't want to say I was making fun yesterday, but I really feel like this weekend had fallen on I don't want to say fallen on deaf ears, fallen on deaf eyes, kind of. I think we'd had the wool pulling over our eyes because the 45 had made it such a divisive weekend with the kneeling of the standing, sitting, crawling of the national anthem, because the whole point of kneeling had nothing to do with the anthem and had nothing to do with the flag. That's number one. He made it an all lives matter issue, which it was not. It was a equality and brutality issue. That's what the issue is. So everyone who's having a conversation about the anthem and the flag, that's not even the conversation. He has just pulled the wool over your eyes. So number one, he changed the narrative. So that was a little bit of the conversation yesterday. You can check out that show on Facebook. It is being uploaded on YouTube. You can check them out there. We just want to open your mind to living differently in the world. You know, so many times the narrative is changed for the positive or for the negative. This weekend, I believe it was for the negative, but we're going to switch it up today and do it a little bit for the positive, because I would like to change the narrative of our lives. And so many times we talk about other people and other relationships. Well, today on Relationship Tuesday, we might get into a little bit of that, but I really want to, focus on ourselves. How can we change our narrative? Because we always want to point fingers, and that's exactly what happened this weekend, in my opinion. We want to point fingers at everybody else. What someone else is doing affects me so much that my entire weekend has been changed. My entire weekend. I'm serious. I am, I'm frustrated. I'm angry. And how much negative energy has floated through the United States by this one man who has tweeted up a storm because he was angry, and then he spread his anger and his fear and his his yuck Well, we want to like try to start changing that, because if we start taking ownership of ourselves and our minds and our thought process, take our power back when we hear these type of things and people start trying to change the narrative, we won't be so easily swayed. So that's what this show is about. I'm really excited that I have the two of you here today, because with that being said, I found this video of, his name is Mo Godot. He is a Google executive. And he said this most eloquently in under 3 minutes. And I sent it to Henry and Dr. Wilborn, and Henry wrote back, powerful. And so I just wanted to make sure that you were able to hear this and we were able to have the conversation, especially from their point of view, which I think is so powerful, because not enough of us take advantage of our counseling community. And I believe if you're not, something's wrong with you. So I have the luxury of picking their brains every Tuesday. So I want to make sure that you are able to do the same. So let's play this clip from Mo Godot. He's a Google executive, and he breaks it down of controlling your thought process and seeing what happiness truly is. Lee? Here we go. Lee, you've been late all day because you're talking to Chuck. See, Chuck was talking. Now he made you late. Now here we go. Mo Godot, the Google executive, talking about happiness. What are you grateful for? What are we able to accept, and why and how? Here we go.
Happiness is in looking at the glass and seeing the truth of the glass. Seeing the half full side and being grateful for it. Seeing the half empty side and saying, can I do anything about it? And if not, can I accept it? Truly, happiness is not about what the world gives you, how much water is in.
Happiness is not about what the world gives you.
This glass. Happiness is about what you think about what the world gives you. Happiness is equal to or greater than the difference between the way you see the events of your life and your expectation of what life, of how life should behave, right? So if life meets your...
We are having a little bit of technical difficulties this morning, but it really is so important. I want to make sure that we all hear this and this digest. It really touched your soul and your spirit. And maybe there was someone listening who wasn't who was standing around but wasn't necessarily paying attention, or maybe we needed to wait for somebody to tune in, because this message is for you. It will set in your spirit, it will set in your soul, and I would really appreciate if we could start having this conversation and share this conversation today. Here we go. This is Mo Godot, who's a Google executive, about happiness.
Happiness is in looking at the glass and seeing the truth of the glass. Seeing the half full side and being grateful for it. Seeing the half empty side and saying, can I do anything about it? And if not, can I accept it? Truly, happiness is not about what the world gives you, how much water is in this glass. Happiness is about what you think about what the world gives you. Happiness is equal to or greater than the difference between the way you see the events of your life and your expectation of what life, of how life should behave, right? So if life meets your expectations, you're happy. We mix two states. One of them is happiness and the other is fun. Happiness is that peaceful contentment feeling of, I like the world as it is right now. Fun is the modern world's replacement of happiness. It's, when I am unable to reach that state of happiness, what I do is I go out on the weekend and I go to a party and boom, 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 and my brain stops thinking. As long as it stops thinking, I think I feel happy. Not because I'm actually in that peaceful state of happiness, but because I suspended my unhappy thoughts. I lost my son all of a sudden, like from having a happy holiday together to losing him was 4 hours. And the question that hit me at the time was, what can I do now to bring him back? And nothing I could have ever done, including locking myself in a room and crying for the rest of my life, could bring him back. And to me, the whole idea was, I can either choose to suffer, or I can choose to sort of accept life as harsh as it has become, and reset, make that the 0 point, and try to make it slightly better than it is today, make it slightly better tomorrow. Wouldn't it be amazing if I can reach out to 10 million people and just give them that message, which, by the way, seems to work. Everyone that hears it says, yeah, it makes sense, okay? Can you imagine a world where 10 million people are happier? It wouldn't bring Ali back, but it would be slightly better than the day he left.
Wow. This was a message by Mo Gaudet on, he's a Google executive, and I actually have the video on our Facebook page. If you are interested, at TGL Radio Show, at TGL Radio Show, I encourage you to share it. He was talking about reaching 10 million people, but his video, at least the one I had seen, reached 70 million people. So I don't know if that was the original or not, but just to show how this message has resonated with so many people, and it has become viral. And I wanted to have this conversation because sometimes we hear these things and we just kind of let it, we think about it for a minute, but we aren't practicing it each and every day. What would happen if we started practicing this each and every day? Right before this conversation came out on Friday and this little Twitter storm and, the nonsense and the smoke and the mirrors to, get us away from Russia and North Korea. And hello, Puerto Rico pray for Puerto Rico. But the smoke and mirrors went up, and we started to take things so personally. We let those things take away our happiness. We gave them our power. Knowingly or unknowingly, I would hope it was unconscious, but we need to be a little bit more conscious about those decisions and how they affect not just ourselves, but our family and friends around us. Dr. Wilborn?
Yes, I definitely think that the message was powerful, and at the same time, as a counselor who operates from a paradigm of choice, I go, of course
Right.
that's the message, right? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, what he's referring to is people's ability to exercise their choice to choose to recognize that, there's a difference between your ideal life, which is
Right.
what often causes people a lot of suffering, because they want the ideal life. His ideal, I imagine, would be not having lost his son,
Right.
And
Right.
not having to experience the grief that comes with that as a parent, versus recognizing your real life.
Right.
Your real life being, in his case, he lost a parent, he lost a child, and so how do I now create a new normal for myself given this situation? A lot of people are not recognizing the choice that they have in that. And so when I heard that, I thought, yeah, of course, but his point is true. People are often missing the opportunities that they have to choose to have a different perspective.
Henry?
That one, it was
that-
powerful, and it kind of touches home, especially with him talking about losing a child. I never lost a child, but I have a good friend who recently did about 3 weeks ago. So it's hard to swallow that, knowing that if you someone who's lost a child, you have one or two choices. You continue to suffer, or do you try to get better? And me being a dad and having 3 boys, I don't even know how I would, but I wouldn't have a choice. I wouldn't want to suffer. I'm gonna be here for another 70 years. So do I want to suffer for 70 years, or do I want to make the best out of the life that I have?
Right.
Because things happen for a reason, and sometimes we don't know why. But
And most times we don't like it.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? A lot of times we don't like it.
Life, Eileen, life is full of disappointments.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at my own life, I've had many disappointments, but overall, I'm happy because I feel like I've had more wins than losses.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever losses I've had, I've turned them into just learning experiences. I just changed the way I thought about them, and I guess.
Wait. What you just said there was so powerful.
Yeah.
Because we all have that ability. And a lot of times we don't choose to do that. What did you just say?
I just turned my losses into learning.
What you said after that?
I don't know.
You changed
what I
how you
said.
thought about
Oh,
it.
yeah. I changed how I thought. About it.
And we all have that ability.
Yeah, but people.
Most of us.
Most of us, yeah. I don't want to make...
Some people, they get into a funk where they just get depressed and like, man, woe was me. And sometimes, you deserve to be in a funk for a minute.
It's not to say that you don't need a certain time period, or
Yeah,
and not to say that anyone can determine that for you.
Yeah.
Look, you need time to heal. Just a little something kind of wimpy I used to go through whenever I used to go through my little breakups with girlfriends. I used to get so upset with myself for spending so much time dwelling on something that didn't work out. Knowing that, man, look, you can get better than that. It's okay. But I used to, if I, like my first relationship, it took me like probably 4 months to get over. The next one, maybe 2 months. The next one
Oh.
next one maybe 3 months, you know what I mean? But they were all around the same, but I kind of felt like, man, you should be getting over this quicker, and I'd be getting upset with myself. But it's okay. Sometimes you need that break,
Healing
that
time.
grieving, that healing period to kind of just regroup. And you can't put a time limit on things like that. You know, everybody heals in a different way. And I hate when people say time heals all wounds. I don't believe that's necessarily true. I believe that what you do in that time is what heals the wound. If you got a scab and you keep picking it, it's never going to heal. So you got to do the proper things to allow it to heal.
We have to do the proper things to allow it to heal. And I take that conversation and I turn it on the inside. For each one of us, what are we going through? A lot of us, these conversations this weekend really, hit us at home, and a lot of people were very outraged in so many different ways, and rightly so. But I want to look on the inside and see what's going on inside of us that made us have that reaction.
Right.
What's going on inside of us? Because as he said, happiness is seeing the truth. So what is that truth? Being grateful for what we have and where we are, being able to accept where we are now, our reality. What is our reality? It's a good life, y'all. It is Relationship Tuesday. We are changing the narrative this week. We are changing the narrative. We have none other than Dr. Tammy Wilborn in the studio. We have Henry Jolly, our resident relationship counselor. They hold it down. I'm so excited to have them for this conversation. You do not want to move. We'll be right back.
Yeah, buddy.
Come on, roll with the RTA.
So,
okay, Henry had a question for Dr. Wilborn.
no. I just want to talk.
Okay, now he wants to talk. Wait, let me flip it around on you.
So, I want to talk about what's one interesting thing about life and having kids.
Oops.
You only have control for so long when you got kids, because eventually they're going to want to do their own thing.
Yep.
And
Comes quicker than you think.
yeah, so I mean, even on like a less lighter note than a child, losing a child like the guy, what was his name?
Mo Gaudet.
Yeah, so even on a lighter note, like what if you had a child that was gay?
Mm-hmm.
And he or she went against
And you were a
all
very
your
Christian
beliefs.
family, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Or even not that. You just had a child. You don't, you had a, go ahead.
yeah, I mean, just something as simple as that, a child being gay, and you don't want to accept it. So you have a choice to be miserable and have a terrible relationship with that child, or you accept it, move on, and make the best out of the situation. At least you have a kid. Some
Right.
people are not
Right,
able to have a kid, or
exactly,
somebody might have
exactly.
lost a kid. So, and here you are complaining about my kid gay.
Right.
Something simple like that. I'm saying it's simple, but if I went through it,
I mean, right.
it'd be
It
stressful.
depends on people's upbringing, their experiences. There are lots of families where that wouldn't necessarily be an issue, and there are some
right.
families where it would. So it determines on culturally and your. I mean.
Well, and it kind of also kind of going back to that idea of people have a right to kind of grieve. It also is grieving the loss of the hope for what you wanted for your child,
Right.
Because when we have children, we always have these hopes and dreams for them. So if you have a child that maybe doesn't grow up and identify in the way that you raised them and hope for them, you kind of grieve the loss of what that's going to mean now. So if I have two boys. If I either one of my boys decided, or not decided, but identified as gay, I would have to grieve the loss of what I wanted for them.
I wanted
Not
grandkids and stuff.
and not that
How
they
you doing
couldn't
that?
have that. Not that they couldn't have
Right.
that, but not only am I now grieving the loss of whatever my hope was for them, but now I have to deal with this additional stripe, this additional layer that's now been added to black and male, and I gotta worry about that. So
Right.
it's complicated. It really is.
And that's the question. I don't know if I should ask it now or I should ask. Okay, I'm going to ask it or say it, but I don't want y'all to respond until we come back on air.
All right.
We have all these expectations in life for ourselves and for others. And the expectation, give the example of this weekend, the expectation that so many people have of how people should represent how people should, I'm going to say protect the flag, how they should respect the flag. Their level of respect and how they would do it, they want somebody else to do it exactly that way. Okay, but you don't know if in their household they could have bowed to the flag, like you, and they saw that as a respectful manner. You don't know what they did. So making someone do it your way because that's your expectation, why? And that's not even the question. Why do we feel that level of control? Why do you feel the need to do that so much? Is really the question. I'm showing, like, you know what I mean?
I got a question for you.
Oh Lord.
Or both of y'all.
Y'all, when he asks
To
questions.
me,
Ooh.
look. So when I saw like the players getting down on one knee with the with the singing of the national anthem, to me that seemed more respectful than standing
you
up
said that.
and putting your hand over your heart. I mean, somebody get on the knee to me. I mean, I'm gonna feel like I'm the king of the world. You know what I mean?
And it's funny that you say that, because when he initially started the protest, he was sitting, and then he met with some, I believe, some military personnel and some people in the community. I don't remember who it was specifically, but he met with them, and they came up with him kneeling as a more respectful manner to do it. So he wasn't disrespecting the flag or the anthem, but he was still getting his message across.
Yeah.
So now they want to complain about that.
Interesting.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to The Good Life with me, Eileen. We are here on Relationship Tuesday, and we're here to open your mind. We are living the good life right here on WBOK 1230 AM. We are opening minds to living differently in the world with love, compassion, tolerance, and understanding for ourselves and everyone else. We do that right here weekdays. Make sure you tune in. Please follow us on all of our social media platforms. That is at TGL Radio Show, at TGL Radio Show. If you'd like to join the party, go online right now for our rates and packages. That is www.tglradioshow.com. Or you can give us a call, 504-400-7127. It's the good life, y'all. Join myself, Eileen. We are here with Henry, our resident relationship counselor. And we are here with Dr. Tammy Wilborn of Wilborn Clinical Services. We are here this morning to discuss changing the narrative. And I wanted to hit home with, especially within ourselves. And I posed this question during the break, and I said, please don't answer it now. I want to answer it on air. So I'm going to kind of pose it again and give the scenario. This weekend, so many people were upset either, on one side of the coin or the other. I'm just going to speak to one side of the coin now for time purposes. With respect for the flag and the anthem. Henry made a great point, and I'm going to say that before I go into the rest of mine. Henry made a great point that, when Colin Kaepernick initially did his protest, he was sitting down. And then he had conversations with people in the military. I don't remember who the group of people were, but he had conversations with people outside who, how could he protest and still be respectful, which was he then got on bended knee, and that was seen as a more respectful manner rather than sitting down. So it's crazy that he had already met with people in the community who did not agree with his protest. They came up with a happy medium, and then people still don't like the happy medium. And so that's where the conversation goes today about happiness and seeing the truth and being grateful for who we are and being able to accept where we are. And my biggest question goes into happiness is what Mr. Mo Gaudat said. He was the Google executive that we had the clip of this morning. He said, happiness is what we think about what the world gives us. Happiness is what we think about what the world gives us. So our basis for happiness is what we think about what he did. But we can change that. And we don't have to let it overpower us to the point of anger and frustration and just craziness. So I'd love both of your opinions on that. Look at Henry holding his. I'm gonna make you go last. No, you want to go first? I'm just playing. Go ahead, Henry.
So we talking about how does everybody feel about the NFL and the Colin Kaepernick thing? Is that the exact question?
Well, saying that. That was the scenario, but it can be any scenario. If somebody comes
Okay.
up here and gives us a cake, and I only like Dough Bears cake, and I know I don't even like Dough Bears cake. But anyway, and they came up here with a chocolate cake. I can be irate and upset because they gave a chocolate cake, but they were doing something nice, even though it's not what I prefer. You see what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, I just
it's how I'm looking at it, how I'm thinking of it.
look. I told my wife this the other day. If I was a celebrity, I would stay away from answering anything about the anthem and the NFL and the Colin Kaepernick thing. But unfortunately, I'm not a celebrity. Well, fortunately for all of our listeners, I'm not, so I can answer this. I think people should worry about themselves, and I believe in freedom of speech. So, you should be able to do what you want to do as long as it's not hurting anybody else. If that man want to sit down, so what? If you want to get on the knee, so what? If you want to stand up and, black power fist, so what? I mean, that's what he wants to do. He has that right. So who are we to say somebody shouldn't be able to do that? But then on the flip side, when you're employed by somebody else, they can say, I don't like what you're doing, and they can fire you. So it goes both ways, but I think people shouldn't even care what another person does if you're not hurting somebody else. But, it's a way to control. You can control somebody by saying, if you don't do this, this, and this, you won't have a job.
And I'm glad you ended on that point, because I'm going to throw that to you, because that's where I wanted to go with it. So thank you, Henry, because we all have this innate need to control other people. And I know because I have it myself.
Yeah.
We have this innate thing to control other people. And if I don't like something you're doing, I'm going to go to the ends of the earth to make you do what I said because I want to control you.
Terrible.
Really?
Terrible.
Really? But that's what we're doing. Is it really about, respect for a flag, or is it because you can't control somebody else? Because in my opinion, that's what it comes down to. And when you have that need to control, I think we all need to take a breath and find out why we need to control somebody else that badly.
Can I add
We
one
need
more
to start looking inside ourselves and being, why do I need to control somebody else that badly? Yes, Henry, go ahead.
When you hosting the national anthem is played, are you standing up? Are you putting your hand over your chest at home?
I'm not.
I'm not either, but it's no disrespect. I'm just doing something else. So, I mean, it's not that important to me to stop what I'm doing to do that. So, I don't think it should be.
Most people are eating pizza, drinking
Yeah, I
beer.
don't think it should be that big of a deal.
It's hypocritical if you're going to put it in the terms that you're saying. It's very hypocritical.
Yeah.
It's very hypocritical.
Okay.
It is if you're going to sit down at your house, and it is if you're going to sit down at your house and be mad that they're not standing up. I mean, it's the same thing. You're listening to the same music. It's just location.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Dr. Tammy, I'd love for you to answer that question as well as the control. When we are feeling that need to control someone else so bad, and we gave the example of this weekend, but it can be in any area of our lives. How do we kind of check ourselves that, you know what, you tripping, you need to stay in your lane? Like, so many times we need to be able to have that self-soothing that somebody, Pierre talked about, said that last week, self-soothing. Like, we're so worried about controlling other people, we need to self-soothe and take care of our own issues.
Mm-hmm. Well, I kind of want to respond to that control piece, and I also kind of want to respond
Hit
to
'em all up,
what
please.
Henry said, because I think on the one hand, it is true that we should be focused. Our concerns shouldn't be to the point that they're imposing on other people's freedoms and rights to express themselves. And at the same time, it is because we have been taught to be focused on ourselves that we miss opportunities, that when people are saying, this is happening to me, this is my life, this is my lived experience, my life matters too, we ignore and minimize and downplay those people's outcries because their lives don't matter, because we've been taught we should only be focused on ourselves. So let me kind of make the loop around. Part of our history is that there are certain groups of individuals who have been taught that they should be in control, right? That they should have control. And more specifically, they should have control over certain people. And so now that the voices of the people who have been controlled are speaking, and the streets are erupting and people are taken to the streets, those voices are saying, we have a right right? We have a voice. We have a right to our life. We have a right to our freedom. We have a right to express and share the things that are happening to us. We have a right to, want and have the same things that you have. Those people who have been taught to be in control are kind of experience what we would call this dissonance, right?
Yes.
Right.
This sort of dissonance in...
What are you talking about? You're not going to listen.
Yeah, what are you talking about? You're not going to listen. What are you talking about? Your life matters. All lives matter. And the issue is the people who know that their lives have not, their lived experience hasn't actually reflected that, are saying all lives should matter, but they don't.
But they don't, right.
And so here we are to let you know that the ways in which you have exercised your control, mostly through institutions, right, is holding us back, keeping us down, and we're sick of it. We're tired of it. We're dying from it, and we want no more of it. And so there's this disconnect between the people who are wanting to be in control and obviously the people who have been controlled by these kinds of ideologies.
Right. Absolutely. And it's to bring what you said, both of you, together. I think so many times we forget that we are all one. I mean, we can really try to ignore that we are all connected, and seriously, and I don't just mean, like, we are all connected. Whether you want to believe it or not, the sooner that you come to that reality, the sooner that we will have a better society and world. But the problem is that we don't recognize that, and we aren't taking care of one another. And so that's, in my opinion, the lag, because when I hurt you, I hurt me. When I hurt my brother, I hurt myself. When I hurt my husband, I hurt myself. When I hurt my child, I hurt myself. When I hurt y'all, the listeners, if I say something that's just out the bounds and I don't check myself, I'm hurting myself. And so we just think that we're going around, just being, this one individual, but we aren't. But the sooner that we take care, and what I mean about self-care and taking care of yourself, it isn't mean being a selfish human being. I'm talking about healing that pain and that negativity inside of you, so I stop sharing it with everybody else. That's what I'm talking about self-care and loving yourself. And because people can take loving yourself to the next levels and to the point of where you're disconnecting yourself from other people. When I say love yourself, I mean love yourself, so therefore what you are sending out into the world is more love. It's more compassion. It's more tolerance. It's more understanding. Because if you aren't doing that, then what you are igniting into the world is fear, shame, anger, guilt, animosity. And we saw a lot of that this weekend. So I just ask you to take a moment and think about what you exuded this weekend. What did you exude? And it's not saying that you can't agree or disagree with one side, but it's all in how your delivery. Delivery is everything, and we all know that. Somebody can tell you something with one IE attitude, and they can tell you something in another. They can send it through a text message. They can send it to an email, and you can read it one way, and it totally means something else. Delivery is everything. We can have conversations, but we are not listening to one another. Mm-hmm. And until we begin to listen to each other truly, we are not going to live the good life. And half the funny thing is about the entirety of this conversation, I wasn't even going to say half. The funny thing about the entirety of this conversation is the 1% really wants us to keep fighting with each other. Because the more we fight with each other and don't have a conversation, the more that they are sitting back chilling with 99% of the money in the world. No, whatever it is. 98.5. I don't know the number technically. But when we start realizing that it's not racial and it's socioeconomic, we can start having a broader conversation, because technically we are all in this together. We are all in this together. They are, I'm going to say they being they, but capitalism, these money structures are controlling us, and we are so busy about the color of our skin that we are getting the runaround. We need to change the narrative. We need to start listening to one each other, because good Lord, I'd like to leave this planet, this world a little better for my child than it was for me. And that's what the good life looks like for me. So, thank you. That's just where I am,
But it's real talk. I mean, go, Henry, you look like you were going to say something. But I just have to chime in and say that's what it is. That's what's up.
Yeah. Like, for real.
Well, man. Well, check it
You
out.
want to hold that through break? Because Lee may make me go through a break.
Yeah,
It's
'cause I got a lot
break
to
time.
say.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So
don't
you
wanna
pull
rush
that
it. I
together.
don't wanna rush
You
it.
don't want to rush it. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't. It is time for a break. I hope that sat in your spirit, and we do really start to begin that we are one. You know, frankly, Beverly Mays, we are one. Yes, we are one. Let's start recognizing it, and maybe we all can live a good life for ourselves and generations to come. We're going to take a quick break. It is Relationship Tuesday. We're going to change the narrative, and hopefully this conversation begins that for those listening today. We will be right back.
I wanted
Come on,
to, I
roll
was
with
thinking what
RTA.
you said, and I wanted to push back on what Henry said, because I think there is value in people minding their own business. I think there's too much of people getting into other people's bedrooms and houses and all this other stuff.
Especially people's bedrooms. I'm
Right,
like,
especially the bedroom piece,
what
right?
does go on in your bedroom matter of mine?
But we make it, right? We legislate laws around. But then there's the other part of this issue, which is certainly an American value of individualism, right? You pull yourself up by the bootstraps and you work
Do it all by
hard.
yourself.
Right. And if you work hard and pull yourself up by the bootstraps, you will have what everybody else has. You will have the American dream. The reality is it's a lie.
Right.
Right. There is no true sense of meritocracy, because things have been designed to keep certain people out and restricted from having access. So this idea of us not needing to be interdependent is a lie, and it's a form of control. If I can lie to you and say you should hate this group of people because of the way they look or the way they live or the way they love, I can keep you two from coming together to realize what's happening up here at the top, right?
Exactly.
And so what you're saying, if I were on the other side of this and not in this room, I would be like, yes, Eileen, yes, because it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth. We need to be interdependent. This idea about independence is a value that it doesn't serve us. It doesn't allow us to live. It doesn't allow the 99% of us to live a good life.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
It doesn't.
Henry might have other thoughts about this, but he's gonna hold it to the break.
We good. I'm agreeing.
I'm just, And it's funny because you hear people say, like you said, pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I did it all by myself. Nobody helped me. You had to go in for an interview at some point.
Man, we
in your
all
life.
had help. I don't care who you are.
That is my point.
Nobody done nothing by themselves.
Exactly. Whether you knew the person or you didn't, somebody has helped you and did something for you. And if you are great at something, I'm a seer, but I still need somebody who works with their hands. I still need the person who has the heart and compassion. And I'm speaking, spiritually here now with maybe a little bit more biblical, but the eyes, the feet, the ears, you need everything to work together. And I am only one piece of this puzzle. I need the rest of the puzzle to come together so that we can move forward. I can't do it by myself.
I credit everybody that
Nor am I supposed to.
Nor
am I supposed to.
That's the difference.
Whatever
Nor am I
success
supposed
I
to.
had
And
in
nor
my
are you
life,
supposed to.
I credit probably everybody I've come in contact with and had full conversations with. I credit all of them people into making me who I am today and who I plan on becoming. I mean, I give credit to everybody.
People and places. I mean, I always say all roads lead to where I am now. So not only the
I
people,
like that.
the people who I've intersected and interfaced with in my life, but also the paths that I've taken, the ones that have been not so good, as well as the choices that I made that have been good. All roads lead to where I am now, and that change of perspective for me had to come through not only an active spiritual life, but also getting therapy.
Yes.
Going to see a counselor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you can only see something. We should be having this conversation on air. You can only see something from the point of view that you have.
That's all
You need someone else to give you a point of view. Oh, that's how I'm gonna come back with the therapy thing. You need somebody else to give you a different point of view.
You gotta come back with the therapy.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna keep my mouth closed so I can say it because I don't know what words to come out of my mouth. But I'm like that. Like, oh. And going strictly to like your brother, your sister, your family, they grew up in the same situation too.
Yeah. No.
How you think their thought process is gonna be any different? But my brother, he does. So
Right.
you grew up with the same two parents, the same two households. You had generally the same experiences. How is? I'm not saying his 2 cents may not be worth it, but it sure is in a world perspective.
Right. Somebody got a voice, huh? Who that is?
Good morning, and welcome back to The Good Life with me, Eileen. We are here on Relationship Tuesday, and we're here to open your mind. We are living the good life right here on WBOK. We are opening minds to living differently in the world with love, compassion, tolerance, and understanding for ourselves and hopefully everyone else. We do that right here weekdays. Make sure you tune in. You never want to miss a show. And you have got to get in contact with these two wonderful people. They will open your mind. I trust them, and I know you should trust them as well. We have Dr. Tammy Wilborn. She is one of our co-hosts on Relationship Tuesday. And, of course, we have Henry Jolly, who is our resident relationship counselor. I'd like them to give their information. So if somebody listening wants to contact them, they can. And when they finish, I'm going to tell you why. Go ahead, Tammy.
Wilborn Clinical Services, 504-509-3995. Again, 504-509-3995. Or info@wilbornclinicalservices.com.
info@wilbornclinicalservices.com. And Henry, how can they contact you?
You can follow me on Instagram at henryjolly_counselor. And my phone number is 504-259-8671.
And so this conversation during the break, and y'all should really follow us on Instagram and Facebook. That is at TGL Radio Show, at TGL Radio Show, to see what goes on in the break. Instagram lasts about 24 hours, so you got to be quick there. And, of course, Facebook is forever, and we do upload onto YouTube as well, The Good Life Radio Show, Eileen Carter. So make sure you follow us and share. It's the most underutilized button in the world. Our conversation was changing the narrative. In so many ways, we need to change the narrative about counseling. Because we were talking about... we were talking about seeing someone and having conversations with others, and people who are meeting your expectations, and like changing the narrative, and realizing that we are one, and the individuality, and we were talking about all of that. But to bring it together, I said we need to speak to somebody else. A while ago, I said we need to listen. We need to have conversations, because this is real talk, and y'all may not like me after I say this, but I really don't care. But so many of us are having conversations with our immediate family members, with our friends, and we're getting life advice, and we are like, yes, this is what I'm gonna do, and da-da-da-da. These are the same. You get along for a reason. They have the same mindset as you. You grew up in the same household. You are getting all of your life advice from your brother. And not to say it may not be, he may not be, unless he's a counselor, maybe he has a different point of view where he went somewhere else to learn a different point of view and bring it back to the family. But if he's not, he lived in the same circumstances that you did. And not to say that you all can't help support each other, but it definitely isn't a mind-altering change. You having conversations with your mother, if you're only going to get that one perspective, how are we really looking to change? We could just talk it, but to really do it, we have to have conversations with people who think differently than we do. It's not going to work any other way. We're lying to ourselves. I'm going to have these conversations with you and all the people that come over, before you boycotted the football, before you boycotted the NFL. Maybe you're watching football. College games now, but everybody who comes to your house to watch LSU, those are the same people who are going to have the same ideas as you. Until you start talking to somebody different, it's not going to happen. We talk about opening your mind to living differently in the world. Have a conversation with somebody different. You're going to get the same thing if you're talking to the same people. And especially in our relationships, you're getting the relationship advice from your family and friends. Y'all, you're running around the same circle. You're getting your relationship advice from your friend who has had breakups for so long, but you're taking their relationship advice. Break it down. Have a conversation with a counselor. Okay, I'm sorry, Dr. Tammy, help me out.
So the counseling piece is my soapbox. One, because obviously I'm a counselor, but also I'm a leader in the counsel. I'm a professor. I research counseling. I supervise counseling. So as a leader in this profession, it's always been important for me to model the importance of doing the work for yourself. So can I share a really quick story?
Please.
So I see a counselor now, and I have seen counselors over the course of my life because I have issues, right? We all have issues. And one of the issues that I have over time tried to sort out is my relationship with my mother, which is sort of hot and cold. Love my mother. She has been my biggest cheerleader, and she's also been my biggest critic. And trying to navigate that relationship has been difficult. And oftentimes when I would try to have a conversation about my mother to other people, friends, loved ones, I would get this feedback that was always around, well, that's your mama. You know, you should love your mama. That's your mama. You know,
Right.
that's your mama.
Right.
And it is my mama, right?
Right.
And I get that. And oftentimes these people were coming from a vantage point of either having lost their mother, so it was always, well, that's your mama, and if your mama golden, you're going to be. And it
Yeah.
was like, yes, I get that. However, the fact that she's still alive and we're still having these issues is a problem for me, and this is why I need to talk to somebody professionally. So here's what happened in the counseling recently. Dr. Betty Brown, she's incredible. She's a sister that does therapy, retired now, and decided, oh, I'll work with you. And I'm like, yes. So
Love it.
I came to the realization with her in therapy that part of the challenge that I was having in my ability to navigate my relationship with my mother is that I kept waiting for this ideal relationship with my mother to show up, right? I kept waiting for her to be whatever I have imagined in my mind a mother should be to me, okay? Instead of being able to recognize the real relationship that I have with my mother, that, you know, it's fragmented, it's hot and cold, you know, she's never going to be this ideal person that I want her to be. And so we talked about this whole idea of almost having a figurative burial of this ideal that I have with her, the ideal of who she should be as a mother. It was so powerful that for me to really be able to move forward and be happy, I had to accept my mother for who she really is, you know, with all of her strengths, with all of her limitations. And that was such a powerful change in perspective for me, because I kept waiting for her to show up in this way. I kept expecting for her to, because that's my mama. And that's what mamas do. But mamas, I'm a mama. We all have our issues. We all have our challenges. And I had to let it go. In order for me to be able to move forward and be effective as a mama, as a wife, as a professional, I had to accept the real and let go of the ideal. And kind of going back to where we initially started, a lot of suffering is extended. A lot of painful experiences are extended because we keep waiting for these ideal situations to be, right? We keep waiting for certain people in the community, for example, to get that our lives matter. We keep waiting for people to affirm certain relationships. We keep waiting for all of these ideal situations to be so. And the reality is, those things may never happen.
Never happen.
So what will you do then? What choices will you make? What change of perspective will you have so that you can live and have the good life, right? So that you can live and be the person that you want to be. And I'm not saying that that's an easy task to accomplish, right? I kind of liken it to like a computer. I'm gonna try to make this really quick.
Go ahead.
So, you know,
I'm sitting here listening. Yeah, go ahead.
most of us understand that computers have hardware and they have software that reads certain files, right? And we also know with our experiences with computers that if a program doesn't read a certain file, it's going to give us an error message, right? So sometimes we'll get the error message that the file is too big.
Right.
One message we might get is the file is unsupported.
Right.
We might get a message that says the file is not recognized, right? And when we take that to extend to us as people, we have those same experiences. Some experiences is too big for us to imagine. We talked about losing the child. For most parents, that's a file that's too big.
Yeah, I can't do that.
I can't process
Yeah.
that. For some people, they don't recognize that black people or certain people from marginalized communities are being oppressed because they don't recognize that file. That's not their lived experience, right? For some people, they don't want to recognize that file and they don't choose to download it because it means that they now have to change and do something different. And so we have to understand that this is why some of this challenge is there, because we don't recognize it's too big for us, we can't support it. But at the same time, if you know that's where you are, you need to seek out experiences, counseling, spirituality, self-help, whatever you need to do to be able to download and process what is really going on versus ideally what you think should be going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
And
yes.
look,
yes.
And look, ultimately, in a nutshell, things change when you start to look at things differently, when you start to process it differently. And you may need help by seeking a counselor or talking to somebody. But it's not going to change if you keep thinking the same way. You have to change how you think. And I have friends that come with the most off the wall things in my opinion, but I respect their opinion. I don't get upset with them because we don't agree on something. I got friends that don't believe in God, don't believe in Jesus. You know what? I don't call them crazy. I don't say nothing negative about them. That's their beliefs. That's their beliefs. That's not gonna. I'm not trying to, push my beliefs onto them, and they're not trying to push their beliefs onto me. We could have a conversation about why I feel God is real and why they don't feel God is real. And nobody's laughing at each other. It's like, okay, well, that's your reason. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is my reason. And it's respectful. But in America, you got people that's upset with Trump being in office. And instead of just looking at it different, first of all, it's not going to change right now. He's the president. You have to deal with it for the next 4 years until something happens, okay? Mm-hmm. I don't know what that would be, but whatever. But you can't change it, so you might as well start looking at it, differently. Saying, okay, well, what good could come out of this?
Right.
Not a whole lot, in some people's opinion so far, but you got to look at things different. You can't always just be negative with things. Look, I say, give a man a shot. We don't have a choice, right?
We are.
That's what I'm saying. So you have a choice. So
we are. You
might as well just start changing how you think about whatever you're going through. If something bad's happening, look at it differently. Don't look at losses as real losses. Look at them as learning experiences. You never lose. You always learn.
And so that's what I love about this conversation, changing the narrative, because I want each one of us to realize that we have the power to change the narrative. So many of us, walk through each day and are passive, and I don't mean passive in a negative manner. I just mean passively taking in information. Like it's just happening to us by osmosis, and we don't even realize what we're doing. We're unconscious to it, and you're realizing you're like, why is everybody else running my life? Well, it's because you don't realize you have the power to run your own.
Yeah.
And you absolutely do. And so what I propose to you today is that we have the opportunity to choose to suffer or not. Whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in a work experience, whether it's culturally, whether it's just with conversation, whether it's an experience that it's going on, we can choose how it affects us. And when I say relationship, I don't mean like suffering in a relationship, but if your significant other has to work late, you can choose to suffer I'm going to make it, because I'm not saying break up with somebody. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you can choose to sit home and suffer, or you can choose to go out and have dinner with your family or your friends, or go do something for yourself. You can choose to, they're not home. I mean, but that's a choice you're making. And that other person can't bring your happiness. We keep looking outside of everybody to bring our happiness. We have to create that for ourselves with a little bit more love, a little bit more compassion, a little bit more tolerance and understanding. And when we start doing that for ourselves, you will begin to start realizing that the glass is more full than you believe that it is.
Yeah.
You're like with Henry, with his friend who lost a child. How many of us have children and you're angry at them right now because maybe they didn't do the dishes?
Because they got a bad grade.
Or they have a bad grade. I'm like,
man.
you know what I'm saying? And it's not that we shouldn't pay attention to those things, but you know what? The 9 months, or technically 10, that Aiden grew in the experience of that, feeling him, I'm like, it is a miracle. And for all of you who know my story, I only have one functioning side, so I have a miracle child, and each and every day I am grateful to have him. Be grateful for what you have. Recognize your blessings. I understand that we have certain realities, but they don't have to affect us to the point of spewing fear and hate and negativity to everyone. We can choose to suffer, or we can choose to open our mind to living differently in the world and create new narratives. And so I offer that to each and every one of you today, and I hope that you take advantage of it. Lee's giving me the signal. We got to go out, but I want to thank each and every one of you for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you shared the show, and I hope you continue the conversation. I want to thank Dr. Tammy Wilborn. You can reach her at www.wilbornclinicalservices.com. That is wilbornclinicalservices.com. I want to thank Henry Jolly. He is our resident relationship counselor. You can follow him online at Henry_counselor. At Henry Counselor.
Jolly.
Henry Jolly.
_counselor.
I got to get it right.
You got
at Henry Jolly _counselor. And you can follow him on Instagram. And what's your phone number, Henry?
504-259-8671.
Thank you so much for tuning in. This is The Good Life, y'all. This is Eileen, and I'm out.
All right. I need some private counseling.
Huh?
I need some counseling with y'all too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like to hear how y'all respond to stuff. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We appreciate each and every one of you. I just offered up that you change the narrative of your life, whatever is going around, what's going on around you. And I offer that you have that conversation sometimes with someone who's not necessarily in your immediate circle. You know, seek out counseling. Seek out someone who isn't in, and I don't mean in sometimes not even a counselor who's like in the circle as well. Maybe choose someone who's maybe from a different culture or a different lifestyle, or at least go have the conversations and interview them. You never know how it'll go. You might find a new friend. But when you can have these conversations with more people and we can listen to people, we can change the narrative and we can live the good life. You know, always having the conversation with your brother and sister. I'm not saying it's not a good thing, but I'm saying they grew up in the same house as you. They have the same opinion. Open your mind to living differently. Differently. That's the word, y'all. Differently in the world. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Eileen, and I'm out.